We can do this,
Cass. When
Cass.
I'm with you.
Oh.
Oh. Well, damn, it just got hotter.
Oh my.
Fireball. All right.
It's 94 degrees, but now we're cranking it up to 104 degrees in here.
Woohoo! Fireball.
No.
All
Please
right.
drink responsibly.
I saw, I conquered, I came. Wink.
Yes.
Anyway.
きっと約束だよいつかまた同じ笑顔で
Hello, and welcome to episode 27 of the Annie Chatbox. I will be your host today, Miss Cassie, and I am here and joined by three other wonderful, beautiful people on this hot, hot summer day. Sitting across from me, and by across from me, I mean across the United States, is Miss Cammy.
Oh, what an honor. I feel your gaze, even here.
Oh my.
Even further across, playing a staring contest with me is John from across the pond.
Hello there.
And sitting right in the next room is Craig.
I'm not having a staring contest with you because you probably win said contest.
Honestly, because we've lived together for so long, I think we just actually can't look each other in the eye now. We know too much. But that just kind of happens. But we have all joined today without our AC going because we love to not hurt your ears on this hot, hot, hot July afternoon to discuss our impressions. But before we get to those, I want to go ahead and let you know you can reach out to us via social media at twitter.com/theanniechatbox or via mail at anniechatmail@gmail.com. Also, if you're curious on where you can listen to us, we're available on iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, TuneIn, and SoundCloud. I almost want to say and SoundCloud and other things, but those don't exist. Maybe they will in the future because I hear SoundCloud's been having some not so fun times. We'll see. But you can also, if you'd like, throw us a few dimes at patreon.com/theanniechatbox. Now that we got that out of the way, let's get on to the fun stuff. I don't want to talk about social links anymore. I want to talk about this god-awful season of anime. It'll be fun.
Okay.
Oh, man.
You know what comes with summer heat? Summer anime. And most of the time, it ain't good.
Oh, man.
And I'm really sad because I try to keep a very open mind, and I'm very salty, and maybe that already says where a lot of my stuff is going to go, but you don't know which ones, so let's have fun! First one I'm going to talk about is Koi to Uso, or Love and Lies. So, in the society in which these characters live, love is forbidden, and so... lies are forbidden, and love is doubly forbidden. Because what's worse than lies? Love.
Clearly.
And
gross.
In the near future, when young people in Japan turn 16, they are assigned a marriage partner by the government. Also, what isn't included in the synopsis is that this is actually the government's way of trying to essentially get over the birth rate problem that is actually a really real problem in Japan. So basically the reason that they came up with this whole scenario in the first place where they're going to assign you a partner is basically to say, okay, well, we know you don't want to go out of your way to find one, so we'll just give you one you can make babies with. Anyway, people don't have to go through the trouble of looking for someone, and everyone accepts that the country will find a compatible partner to make them happy. Yukari Nejima is 15 years old. He lives in a small corner of the country and can't seem to get ahead in life. Both academically and athletically, he's below average. But within him, he hides a heart burning with passion. In this world in which love is forbidden, what will happen to him when he does fall in love? Dun, dun, dun. So anyway, if you do recall, this was my number one pick, mostly because I felt that it was going to be interesting. And also, it is made by a company, Liden Films, which has also done, like, Arsalan Senki, and it also did Terraformers, which was really awful. But they also did Yamada-kun to Seven Nin no Majo, which actually was a super jump in quality, at least from the few episodes I did see. Mm-hmm. So I was like, okay, they're just starting to get their stride in their animation. And this actually sounds really interesting. And from what I know of the manga, it is very popular. So I was like, okay, sounds like good. And then I remembered, this show is being shown in the summer, so it can't be good, can it? And it wasn't. It was awful. It was terrible. All of the characters are one-dimensional and stupid. They make stupid decisions. And most of the things that make it interesting, for example, Nejima is really in love with black-haired girl. I can't even remember what the hell her name is. But basically, she is Takasaki. That's it. So Takasaki is the one that Nejima, main guy, is in love with. And in episode 1, they basically confess their feelings for each other. And I was like, okay, cool. This is going somewhere, I guess. But it just seemed very rushed and strange. And the only reason it was that quick was just to make some sort of awkwardness happen when he did get his assigned partner, who wasn't her. And on top of that, the girl he is engaged to is just very strange in and of herself. She doesn't seem to be very interested in him, but she is interested in love in general. And her main quirk is that she was sick most of her life, so she has a hard time interacting with people, which is okay, I guess. But she makes it sound like she actively goes out of her way to ignore them, and it's like, well, there's your problem, princess. Like, it just doesn't make much sense, especially since, like I said, Takasaki, the main love interest who he's gunning after, makes it very clear that she does have feelings for him, and then spends the next couple of episodes saying, yeah, let's kiss, but I don't want to be with you.
Okay, that sounds like a lot of character inconsistencies.
Sounds like a tsundere.
It seems like drama for the sake of drama.
Ugh.
The only person in this entire freaking cast is Yusuke. As most casts are, the Yusuke is always the best. Anyway.
Brosuke.
So, yeah, man. But anyway, so Yusuke basically actually seems to, from what I can understand, have feelings, like homosexual feelings for the main character. And of course, in this society where, you know, a man is assigned to a woman to fix the birth rate, that's obviously going to bring in some interesting questions.
That's kind of cool.
Like, how does that work for somebody who has homosexual feelings? And especially since it is implying that he may, I'm not sure at this point, be assigned to Misaki or Takasaki. So I think that's where the real drama is going to come in later on. But the problem is that the homosexual feelings and that drawing point literally came in right at the end of episode 3 when I was already just so done with this show.
Oh, I see.
And also, on top of that, all of the faces are super derpy. I remember that me and Kiemi were having a conversation about how we're liking how on females they're starting to put more focus on drawing lips.
Mm-hmm.
I really wish they didn't even try in this show.
Oh.
So weird. Like, if you're not gonna do it right, just don't do it at all. So, that being said, I'm gonna continue watching this on the side, because I'm watching it with a friend, and she asked me if I'd be willing to continue watching it with her, even though even she, being the nicest person in the world, realizes it's garbage. I'm going to sink this and not make any of you suffer through it with me.
Fair enough.
Thanks, hon. Thank you. I am, I guess curious, as per our tradition, do you know something specific that this series is going to sink in?
You know what? I am going to sink this into a well-made Frosty from Wendy's. However, that well-made Frosty was accidentally left outside the Wendy's in this summer heat for the last 3 days.
Wow.
Gross.
Slammed. Oh my god.
So, I believe, Cammie, you're up next.
I am up next. I'm just still so impressed by that absolute slam into that show.
It's not very good. It's so disappointing.
That's unfortunate. I also have a show to talk about that focuses in the romance genre, or so it promises. And that is Tsurezure Children, which I believe was my second choice, my second highest pick of the season. And yeah, a brief synopsis, I guess, could say that it is a series depicting various scenarios of young love. It's a manga adaptation, and to give you just a basic layout because I just didn't want to paste the Mal one this time. It's basically a series of vignettes about different couples and characters in high school and, their dynamics with each other and, like, a lot of just communicative adventures, shall I say, a lot of misunderstandings, and a lot of it does focus on characters having feelings for one another, or developing feelings for one another, or, I don't know, maybe somewhere losing feelings for one another. And it is a manga adaptation. Apparently the manga is very successful in Japan. When I was scoping out this show on Mal, there were a lot of people that were like, oh my god, I love this manga, I'm so excited for it. And it's 4-koma style, and that reflects in the anime itself. They are 12-minute long episodes. And it's, it's like romantic comedy sort of deal. The studio that animates Tsurezure children is Studio Gokumi, who I looked up, and a couple of their other series are Kiniro Mosaic and A Channel, and Yuki Yuna is a Hero. All three of those have sort of just a kind of overarching, like, moe cute style, and I do think that that's reflective here as well. So let's see. I chose this because I really like romantic vignettes. I like big casts that have a lot of different kind of dynamic couples going on. A couple shows I liked that had this element in the past were School Rumble. There was, this other one, Hatsukoi Limited, also, that had multiple couples that it focused on and just kind of did the romantic comedy, the comedy deal. And I like this because to me it keeps things refreshing, and I think that this show is no exception. We've met, I'm trying to think about it, in the first 3 episodes. I think we've at least seen 10 couples, like 9 or 10.
Close to it, if not.
Yeah, because there's definitely at least like 3 or 4 per episodes. So we're seeing a lot of different characters, and they all have very different personalities and how they interact with each other. And I like that. I like that, if there's a couple that maybe I'm not as keen on, I know they're not going to last very long. So I think that the short form of it is very successful. And I like the vignette style. The art, to me, is really simple. It's almost like kind of blocky, but the colors are a really big seller. There's a lot of vibrant colors in there for me. And the simplicity you just kind of fall into, and it works for a 4-koma sort of style. The comedy, I also like, I wrote in my notes here that it's quick, witty, bang humor. And I think by that, it's just that sometimes they're really punchy with their humor. One of my... Into the room. Yes, bang all over you. And so I think for an example, one of my favorite couples just like has this guy that just poses every time he says something. And he is saying the most ridiculous things, and it's just like, and you're just kind of sitting here like, what? There's just these shots being fired at me. Like, I don't get it, but I am here for it. And I like that humor, and it works again towards the 4-koma style and for what it's going for. One drawback, I guess, that my boyfriend mentioned is he said that he is not necessarily a huge fan of the romance genre, and he could see the concept being a bit tiring if you don't want to just see a bunch of romantic misunderstandings all the time. But to me, I think the short form really helps it not overstay its welcome, because the episodes are only 12 minutes long, and especially if you're watching while it's currently airing as it is now, to me it always just leaves me wanting a little bit more, and I think that is a good point in its favor. Overall verdict, I really like this show. Spoiler alert, all of us have watched a little bit of this show, and I don't think any of us hate it. So for
No.
Yes, Cassie loves it.
I think you should sink it, obviously.
Clearly. Except too bad it's a natural floater, it swims.
I think that one thing also, just to like counter what your boyfriend said, is that yes, there are a lot of misunderstandings, but there are some couples in this who actively understand what each of, like, they are actively dating.
Yeah, I think so too.
After their initial
introduction,
confessions and introductions. Some of them, but there are a lot of misunderstandings.
Yeah, there is
that's
one
like
couple.
high school, right?
I mean,
No
that's
way.
like Japanese anime high school. What was I going to say? Yeah, there's one couple that for me is a little bit painful to watch, but like, again, look, I don't see them all the time because it's refreshing, so yeah. I like it
It
a
skips
lot.
to
I'm
different
excited
people.
to watch more.
I'm excited too.
Hey! Alright, which of you guys is up next, actually, because I can't remember.
It was
Yeah, they-
me! Hi, guys.
Dio?
Kore wa Dio desu! Here to present to you my fine selection. First off, the bat is the show called Keppeki Danshi Aoyama-kun, otherwise known as Cleanliness Boy Aoyama-kun! What I dubbed this show, OCD Soccer Boy Aoyama-kun. Studio is Studio Hibari. What have they done, you may ask? Well, they really haven't done much. They've done all the Duel Masters animes and a OVA of the Mobile Suit Gundam franchise, Char's Counterattack. You can call it a movie or an OVA. I've said the synopsis before, but again, as a crash course refresher, the general premise is this is a pretty boy that likes to play the soccer, and he likes to do everything with fashion and make everything hashtag clean in his execution. Obviously, it goes without saying, he has OCD, and he spends a lot of the time in the first 3 episodes making sure that everything is as hashtag clean as humanly possible. Did I like this show? I'll let you all know. No, I did not. Why is that, you may ask? Simply put, I thought that the show would be somewhat relatable in the fact that I have a mild form of OCD. I like things to be clean. I like things to be tidy and organized. While this show had that, but it ran the joke into the ground. They say that Aoyama is hashtag pro at the sport of soccer, but they really don't see like any backstory as to how he is so good. They just kind of obviously drive home the fact that he has OCD and his entire team doesn't really get it. His captain Zaizen doesn't really get it, and it doesn't really give any like depth to the character. And the entire time I'm watching this show, I think of, and it's sad when you can compare, you try and say, man, other sports anime have done this better. Free or Kuroko or Haikyuu.
Well, can I ask a question, though?
Yeah, what's up?
Is this really a sports anime, or is it a comedy? Because I was always under the impression that it was a comedy show, not a sports anime.
Well, I think it's both, where it's got comedy, but, like, I suppose the backdrop is the sports setting, the soccer setting. Albeit those comedy did not stick for me.
Because I was just sitting here listening to you talk, and I'm like, wait, is it really fair to compare a comedy show with soccer as the back front to something as amazing as Kuroko no Basket? But
right.
I just didn't understand where you were going.
No, it's fine.
Okay.
It's fine. Regardless, it goes without saying that the comedy did not stick for me. I'm a fan of dumb comedy, but this kind of just drove it into the ground. Some of the characters are kind of one note, as it were, and some of the premises of the episodes 2 and 3 have shticks, which by the end of episode 3, I was phoning it in, and I checked out mentally. So
that's unfortunate.
It sinks into cement.
Ooh. Oh, wow.
Ooh.
And that is not clean in the slightest.
No, it's not. Cammy, you watched 4 minutes of the first episode, right?
I did, yeah, and I am very much with you. I wasn't big on it. Actually, I wonder what you thought about the art, because I was kind of immediately turned off by the art.
Yeah, Studio Hibari, like, it says something when the only notable thing that I can pull up is Duel Masters. Has this weird style of whenever they do any bit of comedy, they make everything look like chibis. And it kind of reminded me of another anime, World Trigger, where every time the main character did something coy, he would do like the poofy face. And I'm like, no, I don't like it. I don't like this animation. It's not nearly as clean as I want it to be, and it's kind of stiff at times.
Yeah, so. Stiff I think is definitely what I got a sense of.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm with you. It's just kind of you immediately check out sort of thing. I'm happy you gave it a shot, and I actually think it's cool that you came from it from an approach of like, I can kind of relate to this sort of comedy.
Yep.
But like you said, if they're not really giving any rhyme or reason to it, and then also what I remember is instead of like finding a good way to deliver the jokes in like a clever writing way, they just had the characters go, "Wow, Aoyama sure is like cleanly. He's fastidious, whatever." And it's like that's not selling your concept.
No, it's not selling it pretty well at all. They're just like, man, he's clean. He's so pro. He's got fangirls and. Fun. I'll just end off on this. They have a rival character which likes to flaunt his sick abs to crusty tail to flaunt his manliness, and he says, "Aoyama, why are you with these losers this school here?" And the reason why he wanted to stay there is because the toilets have those water streams, and he's like, "Man, this is so clean. They don't have to waste toilet paper."
Okay.
Yep.
Sure.
Yep.
All right.
I don't know, man. That sounds pretty legit to me. Nothing else you said, but like his reason for staying at the school sounds pretty legit.
I've never partaken in any of those contraptions, so I can't say one way or the other.
I mean, if I never had to use toilet paper, can you imagine how much money I would save?
You could probably buy something fancy like a timeshare or something.
You could.
Right, dude.
You could.
I go through toilet paper so fast, man.
John, you're up.
Also, apparently those water stream things are supposed to be a lot cleaner in general.
Yeah, that's
more
what
hygienic.
I hear.
Yep.
Anywho.
That's the only good thing we took out of OCD Soccer Boys, that we all need to invest in a toilet that will clean ourselves for
us.
Guys,
is it said that I'm already on Amazon.com on my phone trying to look up what this device is called and how much it costs? I will get back to you shortly.
Meanwhile, my first anime impressions for this season is a series called Knights and Magic, which that is the Japanese title, and it's very much a Japanese author failing at using English grammar correctly. And it is by Studio 8-Bit, which apparently did Tokyo Ravens, Infinite Stratos, and Rewrite. So, take that as
did you just say Rewrite?
Yes.
Triggered!
I'm so triggered right now.
And you may be triggered more.
Goodbye.
The synopsis reads, a mecha otaku is reincarnated into another world as Ernesti Ekvaria?
Okay.
I think that's how you pronounce the thing. Also known as Eru. So we'll just call him Eru because that's so much easier. In this world, huge humanoid weapons known as silhouette knights exist. Dreaming of piloting these robots, Eru and his friends Arcade Alta and Adeltrid Alta aim to become Night Runners, which is the name for the pilots in this magical setting. There's a lot that this skips out on with what actually happens in the series, but it's actually a really enjoyable series. The artwork is kind of... it doesn't do, for the most part, it doesn't do anything particularly great, and the mechas are CGI. But honestly, if they're gonna go between using CGI and 2D, I'd rather they use it on mechas just to make it easier. It's not exactly bad CG either. Pacing, however, in episode 1, because this is a light novel series that it was originally adapted from. So, generally, how much of a light novel do you expect to get covered in a single episode?
Oh, like chapters-wise?
Yeah.
Probably the first one, right?
There's about a chapter per episode, right?
Right.
Certainly not the entire first volume in episode 1, right?
Yeah.
No.
That's what episode 1 did, so that was not leaving me with a particularly great impression. However, it's quite clear that the reason why they did that was to rush getting him into the robot in the first place, or getting him the opportunity to actually pilot, which apparently doesn't actually happen in volume 1 of the light novels. But thankfully, from episode 2 onwards, it seems like they have gone. They're a lot better with the pacing, and it's actually pretty good. So,
I guess, what do you like about it? That's really
what
good
stands
to you?
out?
One of the things that really appeals to me about the series is that he is actually taking his part of his desire is to pilot one of the giant robots in the series, the Night Runners, but another thing of it is that he wants his own personal Night Runner, one that he has built from scratch.
Mm-hmm.
And he's taking a lot of his knowledge from his past life of watching these giant robot animes and building these giant robot kits, along with his programming knowledge to improve his magecraft in the world, and he's like throwing all of that at what he's learned in this world to really change up the Night Runners and make something really different that nobody's seen before, because they look like giant knights. That's about it, and they have either a sword and a shield or a magic wand. And he's like, you know what? Switching between a wand and a sword is cumbersome and takes time, so let's give him 2 extra arms on the back to hold 2 wands.
Wow.
Where? What? How do you do this? And
Okay.
and so they, but he actually says, no, it's actually kind of simple, and they do it, and oh yeah, okay, it works.
Interesting.
So there's that aspect of it, of seeing like their reactions to him. My only at the moment, my only concern about it is that there doesn't seem to be a really overarching plot, but it still looks like it's going to be a fun ride anyway, so I think I'm going to swim this one.
Awesome.
Okie doke.
Okay.
Alright, so we're going to loop back around for my second thing I'm going to discuss today, which is Netsuzou Trap. And the synopsis is as follows. Yuma and Hotaru have been friends since childhood, so it's only natural that when Yuma is nervous about her new boyfriend, she asks Hotaru for advice. But when Hotaru starts coming on to Yuma for what feels like more than just practice, what does it mean? With boyfriends in the foreground, but a secret passionate tryst in the background, will Yuma and Hotaru try to forget what happened between them, or have they truly fallen into a trap of true love and betrayal?
Dun dun
Oh, wow.
dun dun.
Okay, so first things first, the reason why I picked this is because I felt like it would be very interesting, like it would be a very different kind of NTR story. Because for those of you who are not familiar with NTR, typically it involves a girl or a boy, but in most cases a girl being stolen from her significant other, typically against her will.
Mm-hmm.
Or in a way that's via blackmail, or she's tempted in some way, shape, or form, and in the end her original boyfriend ends up heartbroken. Essentially, like that's the basic thing of NTR. NTR, short for Netsuzou or Netsuzou. I'm not entirely sure how you would pronounce it, but it's basically the Japanese word for cheating. Whereas this synopsis made it sound like these girls end up cheating on their boyfriends because, oops, I was trying to help you, but I accidentally realized I had feelings for you. Now what do we do?
Okay.
That is not what you get. This thing's a liar. Like, that is not what happens in the show whatsoever. So everything I just told you in that entire synopsis, don't believe it. Don't believe what my anime list or anything else is telling you. The actual synopsis is this show is that Hotaru hits on Yuma. She does not ask her for help or practice. Hotaru forces it upon her without any explanation.
Okay.
Right.
And then she slowly considers what this actually means to her in the long run. But it's basically your typical NTR story. The girl's having it forced upon herself, and she doesn't really understand what's going on. And of course, she trusts her friend, and she doesn't understand these new feelings that she is feeling because she is a virgin, and the most she's done with her own personal boyfriend is a light kiss. So she doesn't know what's going on or the feelings she's feeling, in addition to her complex feelings of, her friends hitting on her. They've been friends since childhood. So while that is entertaining, it was also very out of left field for me because that's not what I was expecting or why I picked it in the first place.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I would keep that in mind before you give this show a shot because I find that the synopsis is very misleading. And just to be safe, I went ahead and read the manga as well. I actually read the manga further than what the episodes in the anime go, just to see if it was different, and it's not.
Okay.
So this isn't a situation where, my anime list or something just, ripped the synopsis of the manga and the manga started out completely differently and then anime changed it. No, that's not what happened. But I do also want to very quickly mention that this is being animated or produced by studio creators in Pack. They have done Hakadal, the animation, Omafia, and Bloodivores. So that already should give you some weird feelings. But I will say this, the animation quality ain't too bad. It's very okay. Especially because I should mention that much like Tsurezure or Tsurezure or however you pronounce it, children, it is also a short. So they had some time to put a little bit of backing into this, and it doesn't look bad. It really doesn't. It's actually really pretty at moments. There are some odd, strange moments where, for example, Hotaru, how do you pronounce her name, will slowly be trailing her hand up her friend's skirt, and her thighs look way too big to be actually human.
They're thick.
More than just thick. Like, what do you do in proportions? But yeah, animation-wise, it's not that horrible. But the story is cringeworthy, and I can't stand it, so I'm sinking it.
Rip in pepperoni.
Fair enough.
Or what's it sinking in?
It's not as bad as Koi to Uso, so let's just say that it was meant to actually sink into a liquid, but someone accidentally put it into one of those containers that you fill balloons with. What is that, hydrogen or whatever?
Helium. Here we go. So it got dropped into a helium tank and put in a balloon and floated into the stratosphere.
Rip. Okay.
And then was probably hit by a meteor. I don't know. I'm gonna continue. I'm gonna continue to probably read the manga just because I like pain, but you guys would have hated this, and I know for a fact it would have been extremely triggery for some of you. And the only reason I'm continuing it at this point is because I want to see if one character actually gets a happy ending, because there's one character in this thing that is actually a good person, and I just want him to be happy, and I know he's not going to be because it's NTR, but whatever, gonna keep going anyway.
I love how you're like, okay, this isn't as bad as Koi to Uso, so let's just sink it, and then you're like, and then maybe a meteor hits it, whatever, no big deal.
Just keep going, just keep going in, just keep looking at it.
I mean, what's worse, like, actually feeling like you're gonna be, like, floating into a happy abyss and then you're flattened by a meteor, or actually having to stay out in the heat and rotting for days?
Yeah, I guess that could definitely be accurate. Speaking of rotting and things that people don't like rotting, there's food. And I had a show this season that I picked called Isekai Shokudou, or the English translation being Restaurant to Another World. It is a light novel adaptation, and it is about a cute little restaurant. Again, I'm doing this off the top of my head, not Mal. A cute little restaurant with a kitty on the door. It's called Nekoma, and it usually functions as a normal restaurant. There is one chef, and as far as we know, no waiting service. We don't really get a lot of background on the restaurant prior to what happens in the show. But I guess apparently in alternate universes, in multiple fantastical, supernatural, just worlds that aren't our own, people in those worlds stumble upon a random floating door with a cat on it. So they can enter the door. And this only happens on, and I'm going to use the show's description of this because it's super cute. It only happens on the 7th day, the day of the Satyr. So, aka Saturday in our world is what it would be. Every Saturday, this door appears in fantastical worlds, and characters from fantasy worlds are able to come and enjoy this Western-style Japanese restaurant called Nekoma. And so the show is just a depiction, it's pretty episodic, of characters from fantasy worlds that come and get to enjoy some common dishes that you could find in a Japanese restaurant. And I picked this because I like sort of easygoing, like sweet slice of lifey shows, which is what I expected to get out of this. And I thought, hey, that'd be kind of cute seeing like people from other worlds being like, oh my gosh, this food tastes so good. And it would be stuff that we're, all completely used to. And it is animated by Studio Silverlink. A couple of their shows that you might know of are Kokoro Connect, Baka and Test, and my personal favorite, Tanaka-kun is Always Listless. And so let's see about this show. Okay, so my favorite thing about this show, and what I wanted out of this show, happened within the first 5 minutes of the first episode. So Jesus, a raptor man, and a samurai are all sitting in the bar of a restaurant. And you know what they're arguing about? What the best dish for accompanying rice is. One of them is like, guys, it's omurice. And then the other one's like, no, it's katsudon. And the other one's like, hello, it's curry. That's the best. And then all of a sudden you've got swords coming out. The raptor guy's just sitting there making squawking noises. And then Jesus is just kind of like, no, you're not right. It was so fun, and it's exactly what I wanted out of the show, and I loved that scene. It was great. And eventually, all of them try each other's dishes, and they're like, oh no, this is so good, but this is so good, oh no, I can't decide. And the chill chef guy comes out, and he's like, all right, well, I'm glad we've come to that. Can everybody sit down and just eat their food? And they do. It's super cute. And then the music in the show, I also want to highlight. It's very nice and comfy. It's ambient. It's not too much, but it really just makes me kind of want to snuggle into my futon while I'm watching it. And the food looks good. It definitely makes you hungry. My boyfriend and I have gotten hungry when we're watching it, and then we're like, oh my god, I want this right now. And then just some things that aren't necessarily as good. I think the biggest thing for me that I notice is the art is very inconsistent. The character, I don't know if this is character modeling or just the character design, but their faces will look almost completely different between shots. One character, their face design is just completely different in between shots, and I'm like, what the fuck is going on here? That's just very inconsistent looking, and I would say a lot of the styles of the characters are very generic looking overall. The chef guy just looks super basic. There's a waitress girl. There's a sexy dragon lady, who literally, if anybody has seen Zero no Tsukaima, she looks exactly like the fiery redhead buxom chick in Zero no Tsukaima. Yeah. It's literally that character. Exactly. Another thing I didn't really like, speaking of that character, there was just some weird unnecessary fan service in the first episode. The dragon lady's naked for a good portion of it, and her hair is, covering, but it's I'm like, why do we have this in what's supposed to be kind of a sweet slice of life show? There's another moment where this girl who is going to become the waitress is in the shower, and I'm just like, what are we doing here? This is, I don't know. I was like, come on, I expected better out of this sort of show. So overall, I think that this show is harmless. It really doesn't do anything too bad, but on a whole, I think it's a very cute concept, but aside from the one scene that I described in the first episode, the execution is really generic, and I just feel very bored and kind of flat while I'm watching it. Again, kind of like we talked about with Aoyama-kun, I wanted more anecdotal stories maybe about some of the visiting characters and then how they come to enjoy the food. But you get a lot of just every single character comes in, tries something, and they're like, oh my, it's so good, oishi, and then it's just like, okay, but there's not, I don't know, it's missing a little bit of personality to me.
It's no Yakutake Japan or
I
Food
still need to
Wars.
watch that one, actually. But good example, yes, is that to me, especially in comparison to other recent food shows that had a lot of personality, like Sweetness and Lightning and Pokozudon World for me were two that I really loved. And I also think I guess, is that there were kind of stakes or context within the entire story to the food element.
Mhm.
And here it really is just like, hey, we're a food show and we have fantasy characters, that's cool, but it's just not executed in a way that makes me want to keep watching it, and the art is very underwhelming. So my verdict on this show is that it harmlessly sinks, and I don't know why, but it's going to sink into some grilled cheese.
Ooh.
Grilled cheese.
Probably because it's
Interesting.
like a soft and sort of savory show. It's nothing too bad, so it just gets
Except for having hot cheese poured on you is probably awful.
Yeah, no, it's sitting on the
Nacho.
bread.
I mean, unless they're into that, I'm not gonna kink shame. Like,
Nacho
Maybe the naked
cheese.
dragon lady is. But no, they're sitting on the bread. It's like a mattress sort of thing. We'll just think of it that way.
I will say this though, you do have Food Wars Season 3 to look forward to next season. So
Woo! Yeah, Food Wars. I watched like half of the first season. Never watched any more of that.
For some reason, I thought you said you got all the way through the first season and you loved it.
No, I
Or
watched.
was it just that you loved a character?
She liked the blue-haired character, I'm calling it now.
I liked her. She was pretty good. My favorite character is the guy with the Kuma apron, obviously.
Oh!
Do you not know me?
I just know that you had one of the guys from Food Wars at our Thanksgiving table, and I had questions, comments, and concerns.
Yeah, it's the guy with the Kuma apron.
There we go. So I'm a liar. She didn't finish it, Craig, but she did love that character. I was
Yeah,
telling Craig that you loved you seemed to like Food Wars. We had this conversation over. Anyway, doesn't matter. I was wrong.
Hey, it's all good. That's another show, though, that does have a lot more personality and reason for its food format than this show.
It actually has stakes, and
Ha.
it
has stakes.
Ha! I didn't mean
Speaking
that.
of stakes, what do your samurai pretty boys have at stake?
Yeah.
Katsugeki Touken Ranbu, otherwise known as based on the game Touken Ranbu. The studio is Ufotable. Obviously, if you don't know what they have done at this point, then you've been living under a rock. They have done the animation for the Tales games as of late. They've done Fate Zero. They did Fate Unlimited Blade Works. They've done the Garden of Sinners movies, all 8 of them. I've said the synopsis, but essentially it's about a ragtag team of pretty boys who are the embodiment of weapons. It should be noted that the game, I did research on this after watching the 3 episodes, that the game Touken Ranbu is made by the same people who made Ken Koi.
That's the, ship girls, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, essentially. So, they are summoned out of inanimate objects, and they have legends and stories based around them, so some think they're hot shit, and some are kind of just humble about it. They're all summoned to essentially stop the time, a force that is trying to alter history, and this force is brought forward by, what I would describe as, monsters, shades, and whatnot. I got a real video game-y vibe, kind of like Neo, where the corpses would have, this smoky aura around them, and it was pretty interesting. Obviously, it goes without saying that this anime is top-notch with its animation. Of course, everyone should know that. Within the first 3 episodes, however, I didn't really think that I was really that hooked. The only thing that really hooked me was the animation, the choreography between the battles. I did not get a sense of I latched onto any one character. The show kind of focuses on the captain of the group, Kane, and his right-hand man, who both are swords from the a figurehead in the Shinsengumi. I figured that the show would, at least within the first 3 episodes, kind of expound upon history of Japan during the warring times of the Shinsengumi and whatnot, the Meiji era. Kind of I'm a sort of history, I'm engaged by the history, kind of based on the notion of Rurouni Kenshin and whatnot, because that's also history based. But really, within the first 3 episodes, I didn't really get grasps of that. They essentially try and stop the forces trying to change history, but they haven't done anything so extravagant as to take down a political head, or they're trying to save history. The thing that I liked about it, I will say this on the contrary, is they're at war with themselves in the fact that, oh man, these people are in danger, or this town is on fire. Man, you're kind of heartless if you leave them to die. We can't change history. That's supposed to happen. We're supposed to be here only for the mission. And then the young shonen boy is saying, no, fuck you, Captain. I'm gonna do this anyway. Give or take. All that being said, while I do like the animation, I'm probably going to pass on this because I think it is just going to be them hopping through history, and there are really no stakes for them as a team that would break up the group, or...
So you're syncing it then?
Yes, I am.
Okay, I got confused because I heard I'm going to pass this.
No, sorry. Sync this.
I'll pass on this. Never mind. I'm too hot right now. I can't... I'm like dying. But anyway, yeah. Okay, that makes sense. Sorry, my brain got confused. Continue talking.
No, it's fine. Just as I said, watch it if you really are engaged just from an animation standpoint, but don't expect anything revelatory about it. It's just a ragtag team of quote-unquote loners trying to get coordinated and become a group of badasses. Cammy, you said there was another adaptation of the show, and it was just misadventures, right?
Yeah, there was one called Touken Ranbu Hanamaru that came out, I think it was the fall season that I watched a little bit of. And so I think that one was made more as fluff for the fans, like the female audience that plays the actual gachapon game. So it, instead of being serious, was literally just like all of these pretty boys hanging out in the Citadel, which is where, the sword boys like hang out.
Yeah.
And they talk about their master, and then they go shopping, and then, oh my god, they check out this cute cherry tree, and then they have a snowball fight, and it was so cute and like Fujo bait. So
it
was completely different than this one, where I feel like Ufotable's just like, yeah, you want action, you want our pretty art, but I actually am not surprised at all in your reaction, Craig, because I think just as a gachapon game, like, I don't know how far that...
Yeah, how deep it can get, right? I mean...
Yeah.
Within the first... this is a 12-episode anime, and they didn't really say, what is their overall goal? Who is the man leading this force that is trying to alter history? We have to take this guy out. They're just like, okay, now we're going to be summoned into the next time period.
Mm-hmm.
Within the first 3 episodes, so I mean, there are better shows out there.
Speaking of things that are ufotable, but not actually ufotable this time.
Ooh.
Is that a segue to my second pick then?
I think that's a motherfucking segue.
We are actually running out of time for this topic, so yes, we should probably move on.
Apologies.
No, not your fault. We're all just having so much fun bashing our anime, whereas John's over here like, hey... I got good shows this season, and we're all just kind of glaring at him from across the country.
So my second pick for this season is Fate Apocrypha.
That's your number 1 pick.
It was my number 1 pick. So
must be nice when your number 1 pick you can actually talk about without feeling like you're going into a PTSD craze. Continue, please.
So this one was this time.
Now he feels pressured.
Yeah.
Good.
So this time it wasn't animated by Ufotable. Instead, A1 Pictures got it. If you liked the animation from Sword Art Online, good. You're in good hands. They've also done Shigatsu wa Kimi no Uso, Erased, Anohana. They got a few good series on their belt, so they can do pretty animation and good stories, so all good there. And the synopsis goes... There was once a Holy Grail war waged by 7 mages and heroic spirits in a town called Fuyuki. However, a certain mage took advantage of the chaos of World War II to steal a Holy Grail. Several decades have passed, and the Yigmillenia family, who took upon the Holy Grail as its symbol, defected from the Mages Association and declared their independence. Furious, the association sent a force to deal with the Yigmillenia, but were defeated by the summoned servants. With the Holy Grail war system changed, war with 7 versus 7 breaks out, and so the curtain rises on the epoch-making Great Holy Grail War.
Okay.
So, this is a complete alternate universe, or alternate timeline from Fate Stay Night and Fate Zero and Fate Unlimited Blade Works. Instead of one Holy Grail war between 7 servants, where one big free-for-all amongst 7 servants, there are actually 2 sides. The one side of black and one side of red, who are fighting against each other. With also a... so that's 14 so far, and then there's a 15th servant called Ruler, who just basically judges over, watches all the fights, or it's supposed to, and tries to ensure balance between the 2 sides. And yeah, I was a little worried that maybe it'll be too much info dumping and stuff going on, that it might confuse people, so I actually had Cassie watch the first 3 episodes with me after I'd finished watching them, and she didn't seem to have any issues with that. Actually, she said it was easier to follow than Fate Zero was.
Nice.
Yeah, definitely. Because if anybody has watched Fate Zero, episode 1 of Fate Zero is a gigantic word vomit all over your face. Whereas this show does have a little bit of that, but it leads you into it with a really cool action scene first. So at least gives you a little bit of a taste of the action to come, but then transitions to an explanation, but also in a very creative way with like chess pieces and actual dialogue than just what Fate Zero was.
You mean standing around for 45 minutes just talking, the factions talking?
Yeah, and it's like different conversations between different people, which is way more effective. In my opinion, and I agree. I mean, I sounded salty just to be rude to John, but I actually think that this show is actually very good and is also way more easy to follow than any of the other Fate shows I've watched.
That's interesting.
So yeah,
even though there's way more characters.
Yeah, that was another thing that I was worried about. Like, was it a big cast before? Well, now we've doubled it. But even so, it's there's a lot of likable characters amongst the cast. And
also, one thing I want to ask you very quickly. One thing I found interesting about this version of Fate is, like you said, you've got the basically the heroes of red and the heroes of black. But one thing, I can't remember if you actually mentioned, because I'm really dying over here, is that it's not just red versus black. You're forced to team up in the black team, of course, to fight the red. But if you do defeat the red, hypothetically, for example, then you have to fight amongst each other. So there's like this very intricate, like, you have to trust each other, but not too much, because you'll have to fight each other later.
Yeah, whichever side wins this war between the 2 sides, they then have to fight a Holy Grail war of free-for-all, typical Holy Grail war style, amongst themselves to decide who gets the Grail in the end. Because even though ultimately the Holy Grail grants 1 wish, so who gets that wish, who gets it granted, yeah, that's still at stake.
My question is, why is it red versus black? Why not red versus blue?
I understood that reference.
Hacha! Also, just general colors and PvP modes in general. But still, I'm like, that's interesting.
I actually don't know why red and black specific, because it's not even like black and white either. It's
right.
Maybe because those are just very two
opposing colors.
They're two colors that are basically associated. And this is maybe me being too deep, but like in literary devices, black of course is darkness or evil, whereas red is attributed to passion or blood.
Interesting. Huh.
True.
So that could be one thing, or it could just be the creator of the show really likes those two colors. Maybe those are his two favorite colors. I mean, we don't know, but I mean, if there is a significance behind it, maybe it's that, because the universally in literature, black is associated with darkness, evil, or misunderstood intentions, and red is associated with passion or blood, or in some cases jealousy, but that's more associated with black or green.
John,
That's a good observation.
John, who is this incarnation fate? Who's the bae this time around?
Frankenstein!
It's Nero!
Actually, no, not Nero.
No!
That's the Fate Extra universe, right?
Fate Extra.
Oh, darn. Okay, got it.
You will love Frankenstein, I swear you will. She's so great.
All right.
Frankenstein is adorable.
It's Frankenstein.
Or Frankenstein's monster, rather.
I was going to say Dr. Frankenstein's in the show.
Well, they call her Fran or Frankenstein.
Fran,
like,
okay.
But she is Frankenstein's monster.
Does she have green skin and then have bolts on her neck?
She has
Saber
kind
of Red, who I'm not going to give her real name out just yet, but it is revealed quite quickly. She is also quite adorable.
Okay.
In her own way. I enjoy her. And I really want Ruler. I want the world to cut Ruler some slack. Give her a
Honestly,
break.
Ruler is probably my second favorite. She is bae. She is very bae.
So I am. There's those three characters that I'm just like, which to pick.
It's okay, but regardless, it sounds like you really like the show, and
I am really enjoying this. I am really enjoying this series. I am quite frankly glad. I'm quite frankly glad to get it out of the way first, so that I can carry on watching it. No, it swims.
Yay!
Yay!
Nice. Now you just gotta wait. Now you just gotta wait for it to all dump on Netflix.
Okay, so
Ba-da-ba-da-ba-da.
So then that means that basically we've had John. You passed both your shows today, correct?
I did pass both my shows.
I think you were the only passes today.
No, I passed one.
Yes, she passed Suze.
Oh, right. For some reason, I thought Tsurezure or Tsurezure Children was not. You see, this is how hot I am. So this is why we double take. So John passed Knights in Magic and Fate Apocrypha, and Cami passed Tsurezure Children. So feel free to tune in the future when we will review those, whether we like it or not. Hopefully they're good. So far, they're looking pretty great, though. I've seen 2 out of the 3 of these shows, and they seem pretty great. And we have, at this point, dropped and sank Koito Uso, Netsuzou Trap, and Tiar. And I can't say Craig's animes because we wrote them weird on the outline as OCT, Soccer Boy, and Ufotable Samurai Pretty Boys. But
you want me to restate them just for the class?
Yeah, go for it, just so everybody knows.
Let's see here. So it's it's Keppeki, Danshi, Aoyama-kun, otherwise known as Cleanliness Boy Aoyama-kun. And for the second one, it was Katsugeki, Touken, Ranbu, based on Touken Ranbu, the video game.
You know what else is based on video games? The anime we're going to review today.
My god, you're fucking crushing it today.
But before we do that, I want to thank both John and Cami for coming in. I know it's hot.
Yay!
It's so hot.
We can do this,
Cass. When I'm with you.
Oh.
Oh. Well, damn,
my.
It just got hotter.
Oh my.
Fireball. All right.
It's 94 degrees, but now we're cranking it up to 104 degrees in here.
Woohoo! Fireball.
Please drink responsibly.
I saw, I conquered, I came. Wink.
Yes.
Anyway. But yeah, thanks for coming, guys. You're welcome to stick around if you want to hear what we have to say about Tales of Zestiria, but I feel like you might have other stuff you want to do.
Yeah.
I gotta catch the latest episode of My Hero Academia. All right.
I gotta do the same.
Oh yeah, that's out. I need.
You can't. You have to be here with me.
I
Stu
can.
can.
I can multitask this. No, I really can't.
No, you really can't. But
All right. Peace
thanks
out,
for being
y'all.
here, guys.
Alright then. Bye-bye.
Peace.
All right, so today in our review section, we're going to be talking about Tales of Zestiria the X, which is a adaptation. I forgot what that word was for a second. An adaptation of Tales of Zestiria, which was a JRPG video game that came out, when was it, like 2013?
2015 to be exact, in November
2015.
2015. At least in
Gotcha.
the States.
Well, I was only slightly off.
It's all good.
And it was animated by Studio Ufotable. We mentioned them earlier. They typically are associated with Fate Zero. They are also associated with Fate Stay Night. I think they also animated Fate Unlimited Blade Works.
Yep.
So typically they've got their hands dipped in Fate and all the Fate, but they've also dipped their hands into God Eater and Kara no Kyokai. So they're pretty known for great animation. So going into this, I was pretty hyped that it was going to be quite the eye-gasm. And just so you know, I mean, even with the video game, all of the cutscenes, top tier.
Yeah, for sure.
But anyway, so Tsurezure is a human youth who grew up among the Seraphim, which are spiritual beings not visible to humans. Tsurezure believes in the folklore that says long ago, every human was able to see the Seraphim, and dreams of unraveling ancient mystery to make the world a place where people and Seraphim can live together in peace. One day, Tsurezure visits the human capital for the very first time. He becomes embroiled in an accident during which he pulls out a holy sword embedded in a rock and ends up becoming a shepherd, one who casts away calamity from the world. He begins to realize the gravity of his mission, and his dreams of coexistence between mankind and the Seraphim becomes more intense. And thus the shepherd embarks on an amazing journey with his companions. And that is the synopsis provided by my anime list. So, long story short, you got this kid who grew up surrounded by Seraphim. His best friend Mikleo is a Seraphim, and he was actually raised by Seraphim as well. I don't think they ever blatantly say why he was left with the Seraphim, whether he was just an orphan or lost his parents or what. That's never blatantly said, but he did grow up with them from a very young age.
Yep.
And because he was surrounded from them so young, he was able to grow up seeing them when most humans cannot. And most Seraphim tend to stay away from humans at this point anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So that makes him a very special youth to begin with, because he is completely human. So, in walks Lady Alicia, because we got to give a reason for him to go to this town that was stated in the synopsis, and she is being traced by what is called a Hellion. Now, a Hellion is basically not the main adversary of the series, as it were, but they are basically, you know, the typical bad guys that you'll run across, both in the game and also in the anime, though not to the same extent for some reason. They really wanted to stick to those dragons for some reason in the anime.
Yeah, they did.
But in the game itself, and also there are a few Hellions that show up, are basically when humans are basically tainted by what they call malevolence. But Seraphim can also be tainted by malevolence, and that's basically negative emotions, things that really drive you to think or act negatively, to the point where those negative thoughts or actions can consume you and make you lose self. Which, again, it has been done how many times in anime and manga, but honestly, I wasn't really offended by that. I felt that the way that they presented it made sense. I felt that the way that basically why the Seraphim would want to get away from humans also would make sense, because typically humans are more tainted by malevolence than Seraphim themselves.
More easily corrupted.
Yeah. Which, to an extent, I mean, is something that, if you look at it a little closely, is very interesting. Like, why? Obviously, because humans tend to be, at least in this world, and in a lot of media, if you think about it, when humans are reflected on in a situation like this, they're always the ones that are the most easily corrupt. And I think that's why a lot of authors go this way, is because they want to show that us as human beings are very easily manipulatable creatures.
Oh, yeah.
Whereas other things in nature, such as, you know, an elk or a bear, is not going to go out of its way to hurt its own kind. They're just there to exist and prosper and continue living on the planet, whereas humans tend to go out of their way to destroy the things they love, whether it be nature or anything else. So it's a very interesting take that a lot of authors tend to try and utilize, and it's definitely utilized here. Man
is very flawed. We love violence. We're drawn to violence and war and easily manipulated and corrupted. It's very interesting how people use it in a narrative sense.
However, I did appreciate, in both Season 1 and Season 2 of Tales of Zestiria the X, because we are going to be specifically focusing on Season 2, as that is the one that aired last season, but we do also want to make a note that Season 1 will be nodded to, and we'll probably give our own impressions on that by the end as well. But one thing that I really did like that the story did, is that they did show that while humans and Seraphim and everyone in this world were easily tainted, there was no necessarily immediate right answer.
Oh yeah, to stopping the malevolence as a whole.
Exactly, and I did appreciate that. I know that also has been done a lot, but especially in video games and shows like this, you typically expect for the main character to just get some sort of super OP power and wipe out the malevolence and wipe out the bad thing, and then eventually everything is better. Happy story, the end.
Yep, hunky-dory.
Yeah, play the horns. And that's not where they went with this. And I could appreciate that. I don't know how you felt about it, but that was one of the things that, even though this feels very generic to me, I'm not going to lie.
Yeah. It's very by the numbers, like, JRPG sense. I mean, that's kind of like one of the criticisms of the game, to be fair.
It is very generic. Like, I've seen this story done 15 times over, and sometimes better. Mm-hmm. However, I do appreciate that they did try and go their own way with it, even if the way they tried to go that was their own way has been done before in a lot of ways, but they didn't go the traditional, going to get your, I don't know, how do you put it? Like, immediate results. Like, You're not going to get immediate results. And I think one of the things that in the story they struggle with, or at least one of the characters, Rose, struggles with is, what comes first, immediate results or ideals? And that becomes something that is very important to her as a character, but also something that a lot of the characters, even though they might not state it as blatantly as she does, but a lot of characters struggle with. Mm-hmm. How did you feel about the story and characters?
I feel as though it was pretty interesting. You have this kid who is like loves history, and wants to see a dream where Seraphim and humans can coexist in peace and harmony, but he is thrust into this engagement that is, I'm now the shepherd, and now I have to essentially embark on a quest to try and save the world, but not to immediate results. And then he grows as a person. He realizes that, and this is this is more in season 2, but he realizes that everyone has malevolence in them, and it's not so easy as, I'm going to slay the demon, and the town is going to be A-okay because people can get just as irritable and create another Hellion. And Rose is also another good avatar to say, immediate results can also probably not necessarily lead to the best result. What is the best result to try and bring real change to the world? And then you have the ragtag team of Seraphim, which are all elementals, and they all have their own personality. I like Edna. Edna is very sassy.
And Edna is one of the Seraphim, which I guess another thing that we could point out is another thing that they use in this series that, again, has not been used once or twice, yet a million times before. Mm-hmm. But I really enjoyed being here because I'm always a sucker for it, is that she, for example, is a Seraphim of Earth, and they also have Seraphims of Water, such as Mikleo, Seraphims of Fire, like Lila, and Seraphim of, I'm forgetting one.
Wind.
Dezel, the one that I cared least about.
Dezel and Zavid.
Yeah. And I mean, that a lot of people really like Dezel, but to me, he was just more predictable than any of them could have been.
He was the angriest out of all of them.
And to an extent, I understand that they put him there for a reason. But one thing that really bothered me a lot about this show, especially in the second season, because I think they used the first season to really get you introduced to the world and the characters And that was great. Whereas I feel like in season 2, they basically said, hey, well, we need to have a conflict somewhere. So they purposely went out of their way to make Dezel a little bit more irritating than he even was in the game.
Yeah.
To the point where he was manipulating Rose way more so. Rose being the other human character that accompanies Saray later on, and also Alicia is a girl that accompanies him later on as well, which is actually very interesting because she was not a very big mainstay in the video game.
Yeah.
But she is a very, very big player in this one.
Yep. The anime tried to fix the fact that the waifu of the game was not in the game, so they had to fix the story and make the adaptation completely differentiated parts. So
but you could almost tell though, because like the parts with Alicia in them, where some of them were very good. There were, for example, when she finally wins against the corrupt folks back in Lady Lake, for example, or in freaking not Hyrule, Highland. I don't know why I want to say Hyrule.
The Kingdom of Hyrule. Link is there.
Highland. She eventually has to, confront the person who's trying to take over Highland and make them, typical twirly mustache. That's another thing. There's a lot of twirly mustache characters.
Yes.
Even the main bad guy, who they did something interesting with, I'm not gonna lie.
Well, we can talk about him in spoilers, I suppose.
Oh, we will. But like the main antagonist, you find out later, like you find out his motivations are not just pure evil, which is great.
Yeah.
And we'll go into that in spoilers. But the thing is that the reason why he got to that point was because he was a twirly mustache guy who had no real reason to go bad. Like, I hate that. And that took the show down quite a few pegs for me. I enjoyed most of the good characters because even though they were generic, they stayed true to who they were. They could be as much of a cardboard cutout as they wanted to be. But I still enjoyed it because I knew exactly what the fuck I was getting into.
It's interesting, right? Because I felt as though as cardboard cutouty and as like blanket statement as Tales of Zestiria as the game and then the anime is, I still found the core cast pleasant, right? Albeit I didn't get too much on Zavid or Dezel, but I liked Saray, Mikleo, Lila, Edna, and, those, and Rose to a lesser extent. But, I mean...
They all interact with each other and are people.
Yeah. Whereas the villains were... You're just like, really? In game, you're like, really? Is this what's going on? And in anime, you're like, you're dumb. You're really dumb. Okay.
But let's get to the thing that I really like about this show, and that's
what do you really like?
Production.
Ooh.
Production. Because if there is one thing that picked this show up for me, it was how fucking beautiful those fights were.
Yeah.
And how beautifully animated each strand of hair was.
Yeah.
And how just absolutely grand scale the fights could be. Because of Ufotable being the person behind this. Also, the music in those scenes were just top tier music choice.
Was the music in the game as well? I know I keep drawing parallels to the game, but
from what I can remember of it, I haven't played the game in quite a few months, and the anime is where it really matters for me because Because I'm getting the full raw story rather than, having to run around and grind. Like, I'm gonna be honest, I tune out every little bit of music when I'm trying to grind in an RPG. It is the worst fucking part of playing an RPG.
You're just in the Discord call. You're like, Craig, I fucking hate this goddamn cave. I'm grinding on these little rats, and they killed me. And look, I wound up against the boss, and Sergei just beat my head in. I need to level up to level 50. Fuck you.
Sergei was great, by the way.
As a character, yeah.
As a character, I feel like they really took away a lot of his character in the anime. Like, he didn't have as much of a presence.
He was only in there for like 3 scenes.
Yeah, exactly. But when he was on screen, I was very happy. I think that they put way too much emphasis on Rose.
Whereas the game kind of like said, hey, here she is. Okay, she's part of your team now, right?
Yeah, and like everything that happened in the game made sense, whereas in the anime, they gave her basically an entire arc to try and get over herself.
Give or take, we don't know how well that's explored in the game, but either way, I liked it, but it did kind of draw it out a little much. But I guess again, she's the avatar of immediate results don't always change the world for the better or worse. And Sora's like, yo, everyone's kind of like fucked up in their own right?
So that being said, I mean, is there anything specific you want to talk about?
I just wanted to say, I just wanted to say on the production side, while all being really good, I wanted to know your take on the CG tornadoes and the CG dragons.
Okay, so listen, that's the only part for me where I was just like, really? Come on, Ufotable, you didn't learn your lesson last time. Because every time they try and do CG dragons, every single time, they just do terrible. And let's be honest here.
What's another example of a CG dragon?
Didn't everybody tear them apart for their CG dragons in the original Fate series?
That was Studio Dean. Fun fact.
Right. Well, I mean... Okay,
CG dragons as a whole is kind of dumb, regardless.
Yeah. I don't know why. Maybe it's just because it's Fate. I thought they did all of it, but...
That's all good.
Whatever. I haven't seen all of Fate Stay Night or all of Fate Unlimited Blade Work, so I don't know if there were any dragons in there either.
You will,
but, like,
one day.
I just wish people would stop trying to animate dragons with CG. Like, if you're gonna have a dragon in your anime, just draw it. I don't care if it takes you 5 years to release the anime. Just give the freaking dragon scales and hand draw them. The CG looks so bad.
I feel as though this is like a topic we can shelve for a future like mainstay episode, but it's just like, what is your thoughts on CG and how it's used to save money?
CG can be done well.
Except in Lovelies' case.
But then you have things that are a little harder to animate, like, you know, Gundams, giant robots, dragons, for some reason, high school girl dancing scene.
I don't get it.
I mean, I guess it's just the fluid movements, but I know it can be done, though, because I've watched Idolmaster.
Yeah.
And I know giant robots can be done, because please look at any past Gundam show.
Yeah.
And I know you can animate a dragon, Ufotable. Come on. I know you can do this.
You got this.
But yeah, to answer your question, I hated them. I think it's the one flaw
they were
on the
very
production.
Cheap.
And I did take off a little bit of a number on my score when I scored it last night on Kitsu because of it.
Yep. That's the only thing I really had. I mean, it's kind of like, you know what you're getting into because it's a generic... I don't want to say generic. It's a run-of-the-mill JRPG with a likable core cast, and it's kind of trims the fat of a 40 to 50 hour JRPG.
Yeah. Ready to jump into actually rating it?
Yeah, you go first.
All right, because I don't have a lot to say here. So
yeah, that's fine.
Basically, Tales of Zestiria the X is what I like to call harmless. It does nothing particularly wrong, but it doesn't do anything outstandingly right.
Yeah.
It's a very nice piece for an ear or eyegasm. It's very nice popcorn that you could probably enjoy, especially with a friend who might really be into the fantasy genre. I also think that this would be a really good show if you're trying to get people into anime.
Interesting.
If you're trying to get Sally Ann or, I don't know, Bobby Joe the Fifth from down the street at work, who is your fifth cousin twice removed into anime.
Damn.
And you know they're super into Lord of the Rings or Harry Potter or any of those other kind of if they really like fantasy elements, there is no fan service in this show. There is nothing in this show that really tends to make people who aren't fans of anime to not like anime. I think it would be a really good way to get people into it.
Yeah,
especially if they're somebody who likes video games.
Yeah, I was gonna say, if you like Final Fantasy or if you like Tales, then this is a pretty good adaptation / anime to act as a supplement, rather.
Other than that, though, for my rating, I'm gonna give it a skip it, because if you are an anime fan, however, there is nothing here. There is nothing here for you to digest that you haven't already probably digested before, and you could probably find it better somewhere else. So for the average anime fan, I'm just going to recommend, I'm going to be the very first skip it for this podcast, and just recommend you just ignore it, unless you have played the game, or you are just super into that kind of genre and you don't care how generic it is. The show is just harmless, but you could do much better things with your time. So just skip it.
So I kind of feel bad because I originally passed this because maybe it says to me why I like dumb generic run-of-the-mill bullshit. But earlier in this episode, we talked about the next Ufotable anime and how I'm just trying to be a little bit more critical in the long run of things. I feel as though I agree with you. It is a skip it because whoever's played the game, you really don't need to see this. It's a generic action show, albeit the characters are good. We did not mention with the production that they got the English voice cast back from the game to actually dub this anime, which is kudos to them.
You can watch it on Funimation if you do choose to ignore me and watch it. It's a decent dub.
Yeah. Albeit, it's very harmless, and as Cass said, you can find a better action show for your time. Check out Garden of Sinners, the movies, or the Fate Unlimited Blade Works, or Fate Zero, because they are fucking phenomenal action shows, and they make you think.
Yeah. So that being said, do you want to drop into a very short spoiler room?
Yeah. I don't think I said. I think I said skip it. So yeah, we're good.
Yeah, you did.
Okay.
Unless you have more to say about why you gave it that rating, but I think you summed that up pretty well.
I summed it up pretty well. Like I said, I'll try and be more have a critical eye when it comes to like.
It's fine, bro.
Yeah.
Like, we are all going to pass shows at some point that are not the best. We are going to swim with the dolphins that maybe aren't relatively prepared to save us when the tsunami hits. Like, it's okay.
Yeah.
It's okay.
Cass,
that being said,
do you want to say the rigmarole before we go into the spoiler room?
We don't really have a rigmarole other than if you do have any other opinions, feel free to drop us a line at twitter.com/theanniechatbox or at anniechatmail@gmail.com.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, we're just going to go ahead and jump into the spoiler room with our nice little comfy imaginationable? What the fuck? Imaginary. I am so hot, guys. It's like 100 degrees, and I am sitting in a room with no AC, and I have not drank any water today, so I am just like possibly dying of heat stroke.
Guys,
Imaginary.
if the episode ends before it cuts midway, then you know what happened.
If we don't go out in a bang, we'll just go out in a puddle of sweat. Anyway, imaginary room. We're going into our imaginary room to talk about spoilers. So later, guys, if you don't want to be spoiled. But so how did you feel about anything?
How do you feel about things?
Like, is there anything specific? Because, like, the only thing I could think of spoilers-wise to talk about is, like, Rose's spiel, but I don't really care.
I don't really care. Okay. I'll just say this. Held off. Let's talk about him and how, like, they built him up, but then they forgot about him. But then in the last 3 episodes, they're like, oh shit, we gotta go into the north because he's fucking become Malice incarnate. And then Saray went Super Saiyan and blew up both of them and supposedly died.
Wow, you did not watch all of it, did you?
No, I did, but I just...
Okay, so that is not what happens.
What happens?
What actually happens is, like you said, they do go to the north within the last couple of episodes, which I agree with you. It's a little strange to make the final boss battle to be only literally almost the last 2 episodes. Mm-hmm. And even then, the very last episode is mostly the aftermath of that. So they basically tried to shove a final boss fight into almost an episode. But what you find out about Held Off is that he supposedly was a good person in the past who helped a previous shepherd.
Yes, Michael, right?
But Michael decided to trust him and help him, like, save a specific town. Yep. But instead, and this is where it's weird, Held Off chose to betray him for...
no reason.
Whatever reason. And so he basically led Rollins and Highland into the town to basically destroy it. And the weird thing is that Michael was a good person, but then ran into a burning building to save his sister's baby.
Did you know who that baby is?
No idea.
That's Mikleo.
Oh, yeah, they didn't explain that.
Nope, they didn't, but apparently it's in the game.
But yeah, so he ran in to save his sister's baby and sacrifices himself and the baby to put a curse on
Yeah,
Heldoff.
yeah.
And that curse is basically that Heldoff has to forever live in solitude.
Yep. Cursed with eternal life, right?
Yeah, basically he can't die, and he just has to suffer alone. Like, he can't be around people or anyone else. Like, he can't interact.
Mm-hmm.
Which is strange to me because he does interact with Simone, who's a seraph, I believe.
Yeah.
And others. So I guess it's a curse that he can interact with some seraph, and for some reason, the human shepherd can get close to him to fight him, but it's eternal solitude. I don't fucking know. Wasn't
Simone like that girl that turned into a dragon?
Yeah, for some reason, and then she wasn't a dragon because for some reason, like, Dezel blew up and died, and his wind blew them all away. Yeah. But I guess that somehow purified her at the same time.
I have a feeling it's probably a lot better fleshed out in the game, in-game.
I haven't gotten this far in the game, so I'm not sure. I am intrigued. If this anime did one thing, it did intrigue me to go back, because I do know that they changed a lot of stuff.
Oh, for sure.
They changed how they met Rose, they changed everything with Alicia, they even changed, like, the only thing that they kept absolutely the same was Alicia came, she stayed with them in the Seraphim Village, and then they went to Hyrule. Everything after that was slightly modified. Including how they met Sergei, how they met Rose, how they met each of the Seraphim.
Mm-hmm.
And even though I haven't beat the game, I can say that up until that point, I know that it was all mildly different. Yep. But anyway, so Heldoff had to be in eternal solitude or whatever. And then, for some reason along the way, he decided that he just wanted to die alone.
Yep.
So he wanted to be consumed by the malevolence so he could just die. Now that I actually thought was interesting.
Okay, so that's why he went to the north.
And that's why he went to the north, because he wanted to be alone and he just wanted to die. And I actually thought that was relatively interesting. And even Sarai said, the reason why you took yourself all the way to the north was because you actually didn't want to hurt anyone else. You just wanted to quietly disappear under the guise that you were trying to destroy everything. But the problem is that he's still going to destroy everything.
Yeah, right?
And also, basically, Sarai didn't blow up or die. Basically what he did was, they had a final boss fight, they purified him for the most part, but because of who Heldoff had become, he attracted more malevolence as soon as they purified him. So no matter what they did, he was always going to attract that malevolence.
Okay.
So Sarai basically said, okay, I'm going to take him to the middle of the fucking earth, I guess.
That was it. Yep, that was it.
But he didn't die. And honestly, I'm so happy that Alicia and Rose brought up this point. They were like, dude, if you go and kill yourself, we're gonna die too. Could you maybe not?
Ah, yes.
And Sarai was like, don't worry about it. I'm not actually going to die. I'm just going to purify him, and I'm going to help him find himself. It just could take years, if not decades.
That was it. So they went to the center of the earth, and he purified him?
Yeah, and he purified him eventually off screen, because later on, he does come back, and then him and Mikleo, join together, and
yep.
There's a new shepherd that's found in the meantime as well, which I didn't understand.
Nope.
And then he comes back eventually, and him and Mikleo decide to go explore ruins, but he doesn't tell anybody else he's alive, I guess.
Yeah, it's a flash forward. Mikleo's got longer hair. He's got a new wardrobe going on.
He's still sexy, though.
That's really the only thing I had. We talked off pod about they had some episodes dedicated to Tales of Berseria, and that's not really spoilery, but that just kind of sets up that game. That's the opening hours of that game.
And it's interesting. Yeah. I'm actually really intrigued by Berseria. When it goes on sale, maybe I'll even buy it.
It's on sale all the time. It's $30 half the time nowadays, so you're good.
Maybe. I do need to finish Zestiria at some point, but I have learned from a little birdie and also from this anime that it's actually the prequel to Zestiria. So maybe I'll go and play it, and it'll actually make me want to finish Zestiria, because I am just lost in that game right now. But anyway,
the lore is cool.
Yeah, the lore of both games is actually pretty cool, and I do like how they end up tying together in the end. But yeah, I don't know. Oh, shout out to Cammy. I totally ship Mikleo and Sarai. They even at the end they become one, if you know what I'm saying.
Listen, it's all about that Alicia X Rose action.
I mean, fine, that works for me too. They cuddle up and read the new chapters and, the what is it called? The Celestial Record?
Yeah.
They cuddle up at the end and start reading the Celestial Record together by the lake. I can ship it, but I don't give a fuck. We're going over here to Saray and Mikleo.
Oh, good lord.
Although I am very intrigued about what you just said about Mikleo's character. I had no idea that...
Yeah, it's something that's glossed over. It roughly, I don't know if it's, Michael's sister that, like, if that's the case, then how is Michael's sister a seraph that has a seraph kid? But supposedly
can a human become a seraph? Like,
I don't know, but supposedly from what I read on message boards, that is supposed to be Mikleo, and he has like a circlet. So I'd have to go back and actually look at that. I may be talking out my ass at the moment, but regardless, I feel as though that's really, it. I feel as though, outside Rose getting a hefty character backstory, they kind of forgot about the held off and then
Is it bad? I just didn't care. Like, how they fleshed out Rose. Like, I like some of her flashbacks, like the fact that she was going to marry that prince guy and her stuff with Brad to be interesting. But her entire turmoil afterwards and how long it took her to realize it just kind of...
You just didn't give a shit.
Especially because I know that it's handled so much better in the game, I just, stopped caring. I mean, granted, I haven't gotten to the end of the game, so maybe she relapses and goes on a killing spree. How the frack do I know? But, again, when they fought that prince guy, there was all this build-up to that fight, and then I guess he just fell in the water and died? Yep. What kind of, ending to a battle is that? There was a part of me when they were he's dead, Rose. There's no way he could have survived that fall. And she was like, no, I've got to... I almost expected him to come up back at the end and be like, hi guys! I'm not dead! Please
I gotta find the body!
Please fight me again! I half expected him to come back and then Rose to relapse or something, but I'm really happy that didn't happen. But yeah, that's it. That's all I got.
Yeah, that's basically the same with me. Yeah.
Okay, then. Well, this has been Annie Chatbox episode 27. It's been a really hot one, guys, and I'm sorry that... Especially to you, Craig. I think I, have had to have you reiterate the same point over and over several times.
No, man, it's all good. It's all good in the hood.
To you viewers, I'm sorry I'm so sweaty. You don't have to worry about it too much, but whatever. Let's get out of here.
Cass is a tryhard. She will cool off after the fact.
Anyway, this has been Annie Chatbox episode 27. We'll see you guys next week. Oyasumi!
Peace.